Good morning. My name is Caroline Hussein. I'm in 4th grade, and I'm here to introduce Mayor Muriel Bowser. She is a leader in our city and a role model who serves with dedication and vision. Mayor Muriel Bowser grew up in Washington, D.C. A proud graduate of D.C. public schools, Mayor Bowser went on to earn her undergraduate degree from Chatham University, followed by a Master of Public Policy from American University. Before becoming mayor, she served on the D.C. Council, represented Ward 4. In 2015, Mayor Bowser made history as only the second Black woman elected as mayor of Washington, D.C., and she became the first woman to be re-elected to this office. Through her career, she has been a powerful advocate for education, housing, and economic opportunities for the people of Washington, D.C. In addition to her many accomplishments, Mayor Bowser is deeply committed to inspiring the next generation. She understands the importance of preparing young people like us to be engaged citizens who care about their community and their world. Please join us in giving a warm St. Patrick's welcome to the Mayor of Washington, D.C., Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Wow! Give Caroline a big round of applause. It's great to be here with you. And Ms. Spain Thomas, I want to give you a round of applause and all the faculty and staff here at St. Patrick's. And where are our wolfhounds? So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am delighted to be here. And as Caroline gave me such a lovely introduction, I'm proud to be here as your mayor of Washington, D.C. And as I was sitting here, I was thinking to myself, this may be the first invitation I've gotten to St. Patrick's. And so I'm delighted to be able to meet you, although I know a lot of St. Patrick's families and have met a lot of St. Patrick's kids. And I know the great work that St. Patrick's does as being a wonderful part of the Washington, D.C. community. So give yourselves another round of applause. So I've been asked to speak briefly about my journey as a public servant. And Caroline was right about another fact. DC is my hometown. And what I say to people all the time is that if you love politics and if you love policy, there's really no better job than getting to be mayor of your hometown. What that means is you're the chief executive, you're the manager, you're the leader, you get to make decisions about policy, about budget, you get to go to schools all over the city, you get to go to work sites, entertainment events, you get to be the representative of the city, not only in the city, but around the country and indeed around the world. So I get to go to far off places and say, I'm Muriel Bowser, I'm the mayor of the best city in the world. I represent the nation's capital, and we represent the finest of American ideals. And I know that's what you're learning here at St. Patrick's, how to be a good citizen. So some of you are probably, I always feel like when I'm in schools that it hasn't been that long since I was sitting where you're sitting, but it actually has been pretty long. So I have been in elected office for a little over 15 years. I've been in local government a little over 20 years. And when I grew up in Washington, D.C., and went on to college, I wasn't quite sure what I would do. I knew the things that I loved, I knew what I was passionate about, and I knew what I was good at. And people frequently ask me, well, what does it take to be mayor? What should I major in college? What should I be studying? And I frequently say the same things. You have to be a critical thinker, and I know that you teach critical thinking skills here. And so when your teachers are asking you to read a lot, expose yourselves to a lot of things, learn a lot of words, and how important reading comprehension is, those are the building blocks for what it takes to be a critical thinker. I also think it's important to be a great writer, and I'll look at my upper school kids for that point, because I know that's what you're learning, how to make arguments, how to write well, and how to be persuasive. It's also very good, and I know that you'll learn these lessons in various ways in class, in gatherings like this, in productions that you might be a part of, how to be a great public speaker and present your ideas. And sometimes all of those things come naturally to some. For others of us, we have to work really hard at preparing ourselves as students and as citizens. So once I graduated from college and I got a job in corporate America, and I thought to myself, I'd rather be using my skills and talents at home and using my skills and talents to make neighborhoods better, to make schools better, to help people change their lives and really get and take advantage of the fair shot that we can have here in our city, in our nation. So that's what I began working on. And as mayor, I have, and I think you know the process, especially this week you know the process. If you want to represent people in the city, you have to run for what? Run for office. You have to participate in an election. You have to go around the city and tell people what your vision is and how your vision can help the city, their families, also help people achieve their God-given potential. And that is what we work on every day. So I've been privileged to have been elected mayor 3 times, and that's a long time. In January, in fact, I will celebrate 10 years in office. And so I thought I would leave you with talking about what the themes have been for how we work in our city. And the theme of my first 4 years in office was, how do we give the District of Columbia a fresh start, really focused on ethical government, in doing as a city what we said we would do. Our second 4 years was really focused on how we grow as a city, because we have enjoyed a really hot economy. I know you are learning about economics as well in our city, where we were growing. People want to live here, buy houses here, start businesses here, get good paying jobs here. And as a result, a lot of people are doing really well in our city. But it also means that some people are not. And so how can we use the levers of government to give everybody a piece of the prosperity that's growing in our city? And then we all experience something that we haven't experienced in 100 years in the world, and that's the global pandemic. And unfortunately, you know about that too. And so we spent in this 4 years that I'm privileged to serve really focused on how we bring our city back from the ravages of a global pandemic that has had a pretty outsized effect on our economy. But I'm happy to report that because we're working together and sticking together, that we're pulling together the type of plans that is putting our city economically on the right track. So one fact that I'm really proud of, when we look at cities and jurisdictions across the nation, and in fact right here in this region, our public school system was the public school system that came back the fastest. Kids came back to school in person. In-person learning was supported. And as a result, when we look at achievement, while we all lost a little bit something in COVID, we see our improvements coming back even faster, and we want to stay focused on that. A lot of cities like ours also lost population because people moved closer to their families, or they moved closer to the beach, as it turned out. And we see our population coming back as well. A lot of cities lost their transit riders, bus riders and train riders, because everybody was either driving or staying at home. We've seen our metro system regain its ridership. A lot of places people won't visit. We have had last year more visitors to the District of Columbia than we had before COVID. So those are all signs of a great comeback, and that's what we're focused on now. Now, not talk about the elephant in the room, we also, as a city, we have a different responsibility when it comes to the peaceful transfer of power, which is a hallmark of our democracy. And on January 20th, just like every 4 years, we support as the city the inauguration activities for the next president of the United States. So we will be spending this time focused on how we do that in a way that is orderly and is peaceful, and so that we can all work as Americans to make sure that our nation is successful. So I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you in advance for your great questions, and to, again, the parents and the staff and leadership here at St. Patrick's. Thank you for the invitation. Questions for you, Mayor. Okay.
What's the best and worst thing about being mayor?
What is the best thing and worst thing about being mayor? I would say that the best thing about being mayor is that the decisions that we make, the mayor and the council of the District of Columbia, 14 of us, we can make a decision today, get it funded, and get it implemented in less than a budget cycle. You cannot do that anywhere else in America. So I'm going to give you an example. When I was still on the council, I had this idea that kids, families, should not have to pay to ride the bus to school. We're a little bit different in DC than some other suburban places, for example, that have a school bus system. Our school bus system is the Metro bus, yet families were paying to have their kids ride the Metro bus, up to $30 per month. And for some families with more than one child, that could be $100 a month just to get to school. So the idea I had was that the city should make Metro bus free for our kids, no matter where they went to school, whether they went to a DC public school or here to St. Patrick's. They should be able to get a free So I, by law, made kids ride free. I went to the agencies to say, this is how much it's going to cost. I went to Metro, say, how can we get it done? I think I had the idea in March. We funded it, and by the time kids went to school, kids ride free on bus was the law of the land. So that's one example. So the second part of your question, I think, was the not so fun part of being mayor. And the not so fun part of being mayor is having to make tough decisions about equally great programs. So I'm guessing, Madam Head of School, that part of your discussions about civics is budgets and where the money comes from. And the money comes from us, your folks who pay taxes, businesses who pay taxes, and then I have to decide with the council, how do we spend that money? Well, every year I get all kinds of great ideas about how to spend the money. And they usually amount to this much money. And then every year I get a budget that's somewhere around this much money, right? So I have to decide what from this pack I can fund with this amount of money. And that means that I have to tell people that have had really good ideas about how to help a lot of people that their program won't get funded this year. But rather, a lot of really good programs that I've decided because of my experience that this is going to be the priority for the city this year. So that's not always, it's not always enjoyable, but it's not exactly not fun. And what do I mean by that? That's my job, and to make the tough decisions. And so while it takes a lot of explaining and talking and some disappointment comes with it, it is what I know I have the experience to do.
My name is Pia, and my question, sorry, and my question is, if you weren't the mayor, what job would you want?
If I wasn't the mayor, what job did I want? People ask me this a lot lately, and I don't know how to take that. But let me put it this way, and I say this without exaggeration. I believe I have the best job in Washington, D.C. So I wouldn't want another job in government. I think when, and I guess you're asking me that because you know how young I am. So when I'm no longer mayor, now although there are no term limits for mayors in Washington, D.C., there will be a time when I'm not mayor. And so I expect that the thing that would make me happiest is to be helping cities. And to use what I've learned in D.C. To make sure that cities like ours and other cities are really advancing innovative agendas to help their people.
Hi, my name's Lily, and my question is, what is your favorite Washington sports team?
What is my favorite Washington sports team? Now, that's impossible. That's like asking your parents, who's your favorite kid? But let me answer it this way. We want all of our sports teams in Washington. And there's only one missing. And they happen to be 7-2. But let me further say that I spent the last year, Washington is a sports town. Washington, I call it the sports capital. And sports are an important part, not just fun and games, I like to say, but an important part of our economy. And so over the last year, you may know, I worked very hard to make sure that the Washington Wizards and Washington Capitals would stay in Washington, D.C. And we think the Capitals are going to have a standout year perhaps as well. And one day the Wizards would get there. Now, we also have fantastic women's sports teams in the Washington Spirit. And if you haven't been to a Spirit match, you should get there too. I will just say, the last time I was there, they scored I think 2 back-to-back goals. It was so exciting. We have a beautiful stadium where you can get close to the action. And we have a dynamic leader in Michelle Kang, who is the owner of the Washington Spirit. And she has a huge, huge vision for sports, the science of sports behind championship women's teams for girls and for women. So we're excited about them. The Washington Mystics won the championship. So we have a fantastic women's basketball team as well. I have had a lot of attention on the Capitals and Wizards this year, and I'm looking forward to them being successful. But part of the reason why we want our football team to play here is because we have 100 acres of land on the Anacostia River that's underdeveloped. You like that idea, right? I see I have a fan back here. And we just have a vision, a well-planned vision that balances our sports interests, of course, but world-class cities, they have sports teams. They get the Olympics. They host the Super Bowl. They have a stadium that can hold Taylor Swift. And so we need that stadium. Dude, we're world-class. We're the capital of the free world. And we have 100 acres, and we're ready to put it to great use. So that was a non-answer to your question, but I hope you know that sports is also a part. We're talking about civic pride, but sports, in a way that almost nothing does, brings people who don't agree on anything together to root for their home team. And so we want to root for ours. Okay.
My name is Annalise, and my question is, what accomplishment as mayor are you most proud of?
Ooh, what accomplishment? There are a number of them, Annalise. I don't know if I could point to just one. So let me mention a couple. We are going to open in March a new hospital. And when I became mayor 10 years ago, I promised in my inaugural address that we would have a state-of-the-art hospital in Ward 7 or 8. And that is if Ward 3 is the most western part of the city, Ward 7 and 8 is the most eastern part of the city. And at the time, we did not then, and we do not now, have a sufficient full-service hospital. And everybody agreed it would be one of the most difficult things that we would do. And it has been, but in March we'll open it, so I'm very proud of that. I'll tell you another little story. And that is, we had the opportunity to build a bridge, the South Capitol Street Bridge. And it had been a big infrastructure project that had been stuck for years and years. And this has been a theme of mine. How do we unstick things to make good things happen? And our Congresswoman Norton, worked on it for many years to secure the federal funding. We had the support of a congressman from Maryland, Steny Hoyer, who's a great friend of the district, to help secure the money. But with lots of back and forth with USDOT, with the district, with the Congress, it just wasn't getting done. And so when I became mayor, I decided we're going to just focus our attention of DDOT on just unsticking everything to make sure this project happens. And then we're going to have an iconic structure. And so now when people show pictures of the district, they inevitably show the White House and the Capitol, which is fantastic. But now they show the arches of the Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge. And so that makes me very proud. So I want to mention one last thing, because this is the sort of thing that doesn't get the same amount of attention as buildings and bridges. but it remains the hardest thing that I've done and maybe the most impactful. But we had a homeless shelter for families at an old hospital. It was called DC General. And it wasn't serving families well. It was dangerous in some ways and not reflective of our DC values or our prosperity. And so I promised to close it and to rebuild a system of emergency housing that not only helped people who were having emergencies, but put them on a pathway to the middle class. And we tore down that old hospital/shelter, and we built short-term family housing across all 8 wards of the district. And as a result, we've driven down family homelessness. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that.
In the spirit of St. Patrick's, we have a few gifts that we want to present to you.
Thank you.